United Nations. You've heard the name a million times, right? You see those blue helmets in the news, you hear them mentioned in big debates about war and peace, but what is the UN really? It's this massive organization born out of the absolute worst conflict in human history with these incredibly noble goals, but has it actually lived up to the promise? To figure that out, we've got to go right back to the beginning. I want you to just picture it. It's 1945. Entire cities are nothing but rubble. Tens of millions of people are dead, and for the people who survived, there's just one single burning question. After the total catastrophe of World War II, how on earth do you stop humanity from ever doing this to itself again? That was the challenge. So the answer they came up with was built on this beautiful, powerful ideal, a world without war. But here's the thing. This wasn't the first time they'd tried something this big. Nope. They had tried it once before, and the memory of how badly that failed was hanging over everything. You see, after World War I, they created something called the League of Nations. Same goal, really, but it just didn't have any teeth. It was powerless to stop Japan from invading Manchuria or Italy from invading Ethiopia. So when World War II erupted, the League was, for all intents and purposes, dead. It was proof that if you're going to do this, you need something much, much stronger. And that's what brought 51 nations together in San Francisco in 1945 to sign the UN Charter. The mission they laid out was crystal clear and, honestly, incredibly ambitious. Keep the peace, make sure countries can get along, and basically work to improve the lives of everyone on the planet. The Charter boils it all down to these 4 main purposes. In a nutshell, stop wars, encourage diplomacy, team up to fight poverty and disease, and be the one central place where all the world's nations can actually coordinate. It's a really powerful and, optimistic vision for what the world could be. Okay, but here's the thing. To really get how the UN actually works, and let's be honest, why it so often doesn't work, you have to understand this kind of fundamental secret about how it's designed. There isn't just one UN. In reality, there are kind of 2 United Nations, and they each play by a totally different set of rules. And the best way to understand the split is to think of 2 very different rooms. First, you have the General Assembly. This is like the world's town hall. All 193 member countries get a seat, and everybody gets one vote. It's this great symbol of global democracy, but its decisions are mostly just recommendations. Then you have the Security Council. This is the exclusive club. There are only 15 members in there, and this is where the real power is. They can issue resolutions that are legally binding and even authorize military force. And at the very center of that exclusive club, you have the Permanent 5, or the P5, China, France, Russia, the UK, and the United States. They were the main winners of World War II, and they got the ultimate trump card, the veto. A single no vote from any one of them can kill any major resolution. And look, this wasn't an accident. It was a trade-off. The UN could only exist if the world's biggest powers were guaranteed they'd always have the final say. But, all this talk about power politics in New York, it can make you miss what the UN actually does every single day. To see its real impact, you've got to look way beyond the headquarters and out into the field. Think about this. Right now, as we speak, there are more than 88,000 blue helmets, that's the UN peacekeepers, deployed all over the world. These are soldiers from different countries sent into some of the most dangerous spots on the planet to protect civilians and try to hold fragile peace deals together. This is the UN at its most visible, and often at its most brave. And the humanitarian work is just on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The World Food Program, and that's just one part of the UN system, feeds around 90 million people every single year. When there's a famine, or disaster, or a war, that is the lifeline for millions. And all this work gets done by a whole family of specialized agencies. I mean, you've got the WHO, the ones who literally wiped smallpox off the face of the earth. You have UNICEF, which is all about helping children. The UNHCR, protecting people who've been forced to flee their homes. This is the side of the UN that works quietly, away from the headlines, and it changes millions of lives every single day. But for all of that incredible work, we have to do a reality check, because the UN's record is also scarred by some profound, devastating failures, and a lot of them stem from that core power problem we just talked about. And it all comes back to this, the veto. When the world is screaming for action on a major crisis, a single permanent member can just say no, often to protect its own interests, and everything grinds to a halt. It leads to total paralysis, often right in the face of terrible atrocities. This has led to some of the absolute darkest chapters in the UN's history.
In Rwanda in 1994, the Security Council just dithered while a genocide unfolded. In Srebrenica in 1995, UN peacekeepers who were lightly armed and didn't have a strong mandate could only stand by and watch as over 8,000 people were slaughtered in a place the UN had declared a safe area. And even in 2009 in Sri Lanka, the UN's own internal review admitted to a systemic failure to protect civilians.
On top of those gut-wrenching failures, the UN faces a ton of other criticisms that just won't go away. People call it slow, bureaucratic. It's been rocked by corruption scandals, like the whole Oil for Food program. And at the end of the day, it has no army of its own. It's totally dependent on its member states to actually do anything. So, all of this leads us to the big question, right? After you weigh all of it, the incredible promise and the infuriating paralysis, what is the UN's real place in the world today? Is it still our best hope? I mean, the case against it is pretty strong. The most powerful part of it can be completely paralyzed by the veto. It's often criticized as being bloated and slow. Its history is stained by these undeniable, tragic failures. And its core power structure, which was designed in 1945, just feels completely undemocratic today. But then, the case for the UN is just as powerful. It delivers life-saving aid to millions of people. It is the one and only place on the entire planet where every country can come to talk instead of fight. Its peacekeepers, in many cases, have successfully ended wars and saved countless lives. And its agencies have made the world a fundamentally healthier and better place. You know, maybe this quote from Dwight Eisenhower just sums up the whole dilemma perfectly. As flawed as it is, he said, the United Nations represents man's best organized hope to substitute the conference table for the battlefield. It's that hope that we can solve our problems with words rather than weapons. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. In the world we live in right now, facing climate change, pandemics, new and brutal conflicts, is this imperfect, often frustrating, but totally unique organization still essential? Is a flawed UN better than no UN at all? That's really the question we all have to answer for ourselves.